This is NR2003 Predicts. Using constantly updating ratings, we determine where Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series drivers will place at any given track any given week. Standard disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only, using the process of artificial intelligence, and should not be used in the process of gambling. So here's how it works. We update drivers' ratings week by week as we go throughout the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series schedule. We run a 100% simulation with normal tire wear and fuel consumption. Qualifying results match what the drivers actually ran in real life. Because qualifying data can't be arranged at the same time as forcing cautions, stages will not be enforced throughout these races. And weather used reflects the real-time data based on the actual start time of the race. Byron and Busch make up the front row. The green flag is flying here in Pocono and we're racing. Byron takes the early lead in turn number 1, the most front row starts this season out of any driver in the Cup Series. And he's going to get in front of Busch. Showing the speed he had in qualifying early, but it looks like Clint Bowyer is going to try to look to the inside of him. And he's got the position in turn 2, as long as he can get the clearance, and it looks like he will in one swoop. So now the 14 out in front as Byron continues to block Busch, and I can't imagine that he's happy about that. Brad Keselowski trying to challenge to the inside now as well, and Kyle Larson going to the inside of Busch. As Byron's just trying to make his way around here. Instead he had the speed, he got out in front of Busch ahead of time, but looks like Bowyer's going to be the one that leads the first lap. Stewart-Haas Racing still looking for their first win of the season. Let's see if Bowyer or any of the other 3 SHR cars can get it done today. However, they're going to have to go a little bit longer before we get into green flag racing, because on lap number 3, contact between Corey LaJoie and Landon Castle is going to put the 0-0 in the wall. Ross Chastain also involved. Some pretty heavy damage on that 0-0 car. And then on pit lane, as they come to make pit stops, 2 teammates getting together. That's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. slamming into the door of the 6 car. Hood damage on the 17. They're going to take the hood off, but still be able to race. And the green flag flies with Kyle Busch now out in front. He gets out in front on pit stops, and that's because there's a lot of pit strategy. Some teams took 2 tires, some took 4. Some potentially also took none. Looking up here at the top 5, here's Eric Jones. He has the best average finish among active drivers at this racetrack. Obviously, only 4 races run here, but 11.25, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s. Definitely nothing to scoff at. And he's looking to have a strong performance here as he looks to be the next guy up in terms of getting a win at JGR, because obviously his 3 teammates have already done that this season. And here's Joey Logano. He's one of the drivers that took 4 tires. He's battling with Alex Bowman and Chris Buescher, who I believe also took 4 tires. And they're mired well back in the field. You can see all the cars in front of them from this dashboard cam. But they are going to try to work their way up through tires. Track position seems to be key on this racetrack, but it looks like they're going against the grain, especially early in the race. And we'll see what they can do on that strategy. Here is Kyle Larson. He is pretty solid on this racetrack, even though he lacks a win. He does have a runner-up finish here. And that actually came in this race last year. 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s in total, and putting up a top 10 performance here today, along with his teammate Kurt Busch just behind him. So looking to have a solid day and try to work his way up in standings, as he has been doing as of late. He is inside the playoff cut line. Here is Kevin Harvick, who's currently tied for 3rd on the Raw standings, but obviously still looking for that victory this season. He ranks in the top 10 on average finish among active drivers, but he does not have a win at this racetrack. However, he has put up 12 top 5s among the 36 races that he's had here. Some contact here between Denny Hamlin and Michael McDowell. They're going to save it. That was going into turn number 3. That could have been a bad situation. And Hamlin is the winningest active driver at this racetrack. He actually earned his first 2 career wins at this track in his rookie season, 2006, sweeping that year. But he hasn't won here since 2010, so he is looking to get back to victory circle at this racetrack. Even though he has a couple wins this season, doesn't have to worry about that too much in terms of getting a win this season. Looking at Daniel Suarez now, and he finished runner-up to Kyle Busch in the July race last year, and that could have been on pace to his first career win in the Cup Series. Obviously, that was when he was with Joe Gibbs Racing, now with Stewart-Haas Racing, and in the playoffs at the moment. Obviously, there's plenty of races left to run, but he could be on pace to make his first playoffs in his 3rd season. Ryan Blaney probably has a fond memory from this racetrack. He was the winner here in June race in 2017. That's when he was driving with Wood Brothers Racing. That was his first career Cup victory. And now he's trying to challenge these two guys up in front of him, Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. Harvick is the guy he had to hold off to get that victory. And another driver that earned a first career victory here was Chris Buescher in the 37 car back when he was with Front Row Motorsports. That's when he was able to take away the fog race. And that was the way that that race ended. Couldn't see down that long back straightaway. Now we see Brad Keselowski getting out in the front of this group. He has the third best average finish among drivers, active drivers, that is. But he only has one victory here. That came in 2011, so it's been a long dry spell in terms of getting a victory here. But he also has 9 top 5s, and that kind of contends with those top guys in the win columns. Kevin Harvick, though, kind of lacking there. Jimmy Johnson's a 3-time winner here, and that ties Kurt Busch for victories at this racetrack. That would come second to Denny Hamlin. But it looks like he's kind of a little bit further back in the field, and Hendrick Motorsports has kind of been up and down all season. They've only got that one victory, which is obviously Chevrolet's only victory of the season. You can see pole sitter William Byron really struggling back here. He has kind of lost the pack out in front, and he's running with guys like Paul Menard, Ty Dillon. It seems like we said that qualifying speed looked like it transferred, and apparently it has not. Hendrick Motorsports still looking for a solution here, and it might not come at this racetrack unless they can pick it up in the later goings. We see Joey Logano. He's on the 4-tire strategy. He just passed Denny Hamlin, and now he's going to go for Kevin Harvick. You can see the lapped car, or about to go a lap down. That would be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. with that hood off and his obviously damaged race car, just trying to turn laps and see if there's going to be more accidents they can take advantage of. But it looks like Logano is going to be the one that charges to the front, even though it took him quite a lot of laps. We see Kyle Busch. He's going to be the first one to come down for a pit stop, and now we're going to see a bigger group that includes Logano, Harvick, and Buescher. And I'm sure we're going to see 4-tire stops all around now, because obviously when they took that first pit stop, it was pretty hit or miss in terms of what you wanted to do there. And they went on differing strategies, but now with 4 tires on, looks like we have a 3-car breakaway, and it's 3 championship contenders from 2018. Logano, Harvick, and Busch, as Enric Almirola, he's trying to find his way out in front, but it looks like he's kind of losing that pack, and he's probably going to fade back into the cars that are behind him. He's running with Ross Chastain, who is now a lap down. Obviously, he was involved in that first crash. We were talking about championship contenders. Here's Martin Truex Jr., and he's been having mechanical problems. He is nowhere in the vicinity of guys that he should be running with, but something's gone wrong in his race car, and he is just trying to pick up speed. He is, I'm not sure if he's a lap down yet, but he's definitely trying to get his car fixed up because it's not running the way that it needs to be right now. You can see here's Chris Buescher. He is still hanging with this next pack that is behind the group of 3 out in front, and you can see that gap, but a great run for Buescher on a track that he obviously must like a lot, considering it's his only Cup victory to date. Here's the next pack back from them. That is Alex Bowman, Eric Jones, and Austin Dillon, all contending for a top 10 spot at the moment. Still eclipsing 110 laps left in this race, and you can see there's another pack behind. Probably has a chance at catching this 3-pack as long as they stick together and draft off each other. Kurt Busch is also having a little bit of problems. It looks like it might have been a slow pit stop instead of a mechanical problem for him, but he's not running exactly where he'd like to be. As we saw him up in the top 10 earlier in the race, and he probably had a 2-tire stop, but I can't imagine that slowed him down that much. I believe the slow pitch stop is what put him back there. Ty Dillon is having a solid run here today, and he isn't historically great at this racetrack. Although he has a few top 20s, he's only been up at 17th position. That's his best finish on this racetrack, but he has a spot up here contending for the top 10 in this pack that he's running in. 3 wide going through turn 1. The group of 3 out in front are not wasting any time with each other. They want to get out in front and lead some laps, at least get that clean air and see if they can get away from one another, but they are sticking with each other as they go through down the backstretch. They have not cleared each other going through the tunnel turn. 3 wide, you cannot do that, and somehow they're going to make it stick. And that is pretty incredible. Back here again, Ryan Newman, and we saw Ricky Stenhouse Jr. cave in his door, and it looks like they buffed that out, but obviously the car is still running a bit slow, and I think they might have had to buff that out on their next pit stop. I don't believe that they took another pit stop after that. They just kind of left it out there and saw what it would do, but obviously it didn't work out for them. And with the pit stop and repair work, they had to lose a little bit of time. Here's Clint Bowyer drafting off his teammate Eric Almirola, who's already dropped back into that pack as we expected him to, since he was all out alone. Here's Denny Hamlin, made a quick move to the inside of Clint Bowyer. Obviously, turn 2 is allowing people some passing opportunities. Matt Benedetto, he is having, we've got to say, a great run, and obviously he's with a new team, but this has not been a good racetrack for him. We have him at 32.75 average finish on this racetrack, and now he's running up in the top 20, which he has never had. He's had a best finish of 27th at this racetrack. Now, obviously, he's been with BK Racing and Go Fast Racing. This is probably his best opportunity to get a good finish, but obviously, he is putting up the performance that he expects himself to in this race car, and he really needs it at this racetrack. Here's Paul Menard. He is not terribly great at this racetrack. He has a 22.96 average finish, and he's currently running around the top 20, trying to battle other cars for that position. Here comes Kyle Busch for his next pit stop, and as this pit cycle goes through, it is much more split. Kyle Busch has gotten off to a bit of a lead over Joey Logano and a much bigger lead over Kevin Harvick. You can see the gap. That's over the 22, and there's the 4, and he's probably going to blend back into the next few cars that were behind him. Logano is going to have the ability to draft back up to Busch in a pretty short amount of time, but now that group of 3 became 2, and there's Harvick getting caught up by Buescher, who is still running great. He's up there in the top 5, and he's still got Almirola and Keselowski behind him, but this is just an amazing run for the 37 car and team, who is currently outside the top 20 in points. But for Harvick, who still lacks a victory at this racetrack, this is not the situation he wanted, and I can't imagine he's going to be any happier with his pit crew as he has been this season. Alex Bowman has kind of been slipping back a little bit, and I mean, technically that's true of the whole Hendrick camp. William Byron's still pretty far back there, and Chase Elliott's still outside the top 10, although I think he's still in a contention spot to battle into it. Here's Keselowski. We mentioned his stats earlier, and he is currently running a top 5 performance, which would put him at 10 if he's able to hold on to it. Keselowski's finished in the top 5 half the time he's been at this racetrack, 9 out of 18. So if he gets a top 5 here today, that might mean he doesn't get it next time if he wants to keep that 50% up. We've got a decent battle in the Rookie of the Year standings, by the way. Daniel Hemrick and Ryan Preece are pretty much side by side with each other. You just don't know where those guys are going to end up. They are 24th and 25th in points, separated by 8 points, and right now Preece has the advantage over Hemrick and getting a little bit of drafting help as well. We see Logano still battling Busch for the lead, trying to take advantage of him in the turn 1 and possibly use this lapped car of Stenhouse as a pick. It clearly hasn't been a solid day for the 17. And 22 getting out to a little bit of an advantage. I think the 18 is going to be able to suck back up to him just based off the drafting help, but it's pretty good to see that Logano has more speed in the car than Busch. It's just a matter of how does the strategy play out. You can see the gap between them and the 4, the 2, and that rest of that group, as Harvick and the crew are trying to get the drafting help off each other, and as long as they can do that while the 18 and 22 are battling or separated, that would be able to get them a little bit of time, and it looks like it did slice off a second and a half. Meanwhile, Paul Menard got away from that pack that he was in and is now running with some solid race cars right here and trying to battle for position to make sure that he stays above average from his history at this racetrack. Kyle Busch is going to come in for another pit stop. This should be the second to last if the pit cycle holds through. Denny Hamlin's going to be the last one to come down, as it has been throughout this race. He's been trying to extend it as long as he can. However, it is now once again a Kyle Busch show, and this time he has separated himself from Logano to a point where I don't believe that he can get back up to him unless his car is just that fast. He's trying to get some help from Martin Truex Jr., who's gone a lap down, obviously from some mechanical issues that he had earlier. And his car is just not up to speed. I'm not sure he's going to help out Logano any. We see that Eric Jones is leading this pack that is battling around the top 10. That has Larson, Dillon, Elliott, Johnson all in it. Hendrick's just trying to look for one car to get in the top 10. They're going to have to help each other to get there. Daniel Suarez, who's had some decent luck at this racetrack as of late. Obviously, the last race you've been here too came with a runner-up finish, but he has fallen off from the pack, now running by himself. Paul Menard also kind of having that luck. He has fallen away from that pack that we were talking about him just a few moments ago, and now he's just kind of running by himself and trying to find himself back up. It looks like he has a little bit of damage on his right side, actually. I wonder if that came from pit lane. Maybe that's why he's slowing down a little bit. We've got to mention Corey LaJoie, who had a wonderful day at Charlotte, finishing 12th. That's his best non-super speedway finish. And by the way, his best finish at Daytona and Talladega is 11th. Still looking for that top 10, but obviously that is the kind of performance you want to put up. And I'm sure he had a little bit of help from some of the cautions and whatnot, but obviously don't discount someone for getting a good finish once in a while. That is a great run by that 32 camp, but they are obviously back down to earth as they are pretty slow today. We see Harvick and Almirola going underneath Keselowski, but you can see Logano has fallen back to this group. And we obviously expected that. And problems for the 9 car of Chase Elliott. He is going to blow up going down the short straightaway. He finished 4th last week at Charlotte. He's trying to keep himself up there in the top 5 in points, and he is currently having a great season, but obviously going to have mechanical problems here today. Kyle Busch coming down for what we expect to be the last pit stop of the day. Now we got Logano and Harvick coming in, as well as Almirola and Keselowski will stay out for a little bit longer. And when the pits cycle out, it's going to be about the same as it was before. It's Kyle Busch with a well out front advantage and trying to put cars a lap down as he can. And there is that next group: Logano, Harvick, Almirola, Keselowski, and I believe that Chris Buescher might have lost his pack now, which is unfortunate. He was looking to see if he can get a great run today, but I believe he's still in the top 10, so he's still doing pretty solid. There he is with the next group back. That would be Larson, Dillon, and Johnson. Chastain being a lapped car. So still a solid top 10 day if he can pull it off. Just a few laps remaining in this race. However, it is not going to stay green. Going down into turn 1. Different lanes between Almirola and Keselowski is going to cause contact between the two. They hit the wall, and they are going to wreck and bring out the caution. That was huge bad news for Kyle Busch, who had such an advantage on the rest of the field. And obviously not good for either the 10 or the 2, as they're going to have damage themselves. The 10 is going to drop out of this race, and now the entire field is caught back up to Kyle Busch. And between him, Logano, and Harvick, there is competition here that could beat the 18 out. Busch gets off to a solid start on this restart. Logano's going to stay right behind him, and he's going to make a move in turn number 2, looking to the inside, and this is exactly what Busch didn't want to see. Harvick's just trailing, and he can make the move to the inside as well. And he is currently following Busch, not going to make the move yet. Gotta wonder if he's trying to set himself up, but the 22 is going to clear the 18, and now Logano leads out front, and Keselowski, his teammate, is obviously dropping back from the damage he sustained from the accident with Almirola. I'm surprised he stayed on the racetrack, but it seems like he's still semi up to speed and keeping himself in the top 10. Meanwhile, up in front, Austin Dillon, he's in 4th, but he can't see the top 3 really. He's got a lot of lapped cars in his way, staying up to speed. They lapped a decent amount of cars on the green flag cycle. However, there's even more trouble. Teammates getting together. Alex Bowman clips the left rear of William Byron, and Bailey Curry takes a heavy shot into the outside wall. That is not what you want to do to your teammate, especially when you're both trying to stay within reach of the playoffs, although Alex Bowman is in a better situation than Byron is. Here's the contact, and here's the hit that Bailey Curry took, and that was quite a lick. But for Byron, who's 15th in points, this is not what he wanted to see. And just a mindless error right there between Bowman getting into his teammate Byron. Now we get back to green with just 5 laps remaining. Busch looking to the inside of Harvick immediately on this restart, and it looks like he might be able to get the nose underneath them, and he does. So the 18 looking for position early in this one, but they are going to run side by side with each other in the laps following, and that is giving Logano a bit of an advantage. It's exactly what he wants to see as he tries to extend his lead. However, it's not going to last forever as the laps wind down. Busch looking to the inside of Logano, going down into turn number 3. He's got him side by side, and they're going to battle this one all the way down the front straightaway if they have to. And it looks like they will. None of them get the clear momentum boost off the corner. Harvick getting the draft off of Busch, and he is going to force a 3-wide situation heading into turn 1. Austin Dillon trailing them. He's just in the catbird seat trying to see if these 3 guys will wreck each other. They definitely don't like each other too much, but Dillon just might be in the best situation right here. Still 3 wide coming out of turn number 1. However, it looks like Harvick might have the slight advantage. Although he can't exactly clear the next 2 guys. I think, yep, Busch has cleared Logano, and Harvick is still side by side with him. Although I'm sure the 4 is going to have the advantage into the next corner, and he will take the white flag. And now Busch looking to the inside. Logano subsequently goes to the low line, and he is going to force another 3-wide situation. And Busch kind of lets them go that right there. Logano's almost got them cleared going through this one corner. Not quite, but they're still almost 3 wide. Can Logano get the bumper clear of the 18? No, he can't. The 18 is fighting back as the 4 tries to creep around the outside. Once again, 3 wide into the tunnel turn. Larson's now in the conversation, but this time Logano clears the 18. And it looks like he's going to have the advantage. He clears both of them, and now the 22 taking the lead going into turn number 3. It's been a Penske and Gibbs show all season long with the exception of 1 race, and it's going to stay that way. Checkered flag goes to Joey Logano here in Pocono. Logano with his 2nd win of the season and his 2nd win at this racetrack. He won back here in 2012 when he was driving with Gibbs, and now with Penske, he's going to go back to victory lane, this time in the 22 car. A look at the final results. Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick come up behind Logano along with Larson and Dillon. Where in the world did Kurt Busch and Ryan Preece come from? They were both back in the 20s, and they somehow end up in the top 10 along with Johnson. Suarez caught the draft once again with the restart, and Chris Buescher still knocks out a top 10. Looking back in the next 10, you got Boyer, Bowman, Hamlin, Ty Dillon with a good top 15 run, Ryan Blaney, the 2017 winner of this race, Matt DiBenedetto with a great top 20 run, and Michael McDowell with his 3rd top 20 here at this racetrack. Brad Keselowski and William Byron with their crash damage dropped to the back of the lead lap. Moving off of the lead lap, we've got David Reagan, Daniel Hemrick, and Paul Menard, Ryan Newman, all those guys out here. Landon Castle, I cannot believe that he put it back in the 26th place after wrecking on lap number 3. That was quite the run. Martin Truex Jr. had his mechanical problems. J.J. Yeley in one of his first races back ends up in 31st. And then we see the drivers that really had problems. Rookie Stenhouse Jr. had his damage, ends up 5 laps down. Eric Almirola and Chase Elliott would also have to drop out of the race along with Bailey Curry in that last accident. That is it for NR2003 Predicts. We hope you enjoyed today's race, and we'll see you next time.